podcast audience, like, a way of being. So I'm really appreciative of you all for being here. Thanks for coming to my taping. How many of you have done a live podcast recording before, either this or others? Nice. How many of you are like, what is a podcast and why am I here? You can be honest. Cool. All right. Welcome. Welcome to this space. So I've had this podcast for on and off, mostly on, for about 3 years now. And it's a fun thing that I really enjoy doing, and every year I love coming back to YMA and getting the camp involved with it. So we'll have this show here, and then I'll edit it only a tiny bit, and then it'll be in the podcast feed in just a few weeks, so you can download the podcast for free and listen to and remember your time with this camp. That's amazing. So here's how this is going to start. I am going to say, in order to get like a good clean start to show myself on the little audio editing thing where the start of the actual show is, I need just like a couple seconds of silence. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to wish Heidi, good show Heidi, and hopefully if Heidi's feeling generous, she will respond back. Great, we'll do that again. And then, in previous years, what I've done, I'm rolling around too much, it's making me self-conscious, okay. In previous years, what I've done is I've done a big line of, today on Keep Classical Weird, we are live at YMA, and I make everybody just explode with glee. However, what happens then is you can't hear the amazing theme music that's going on behind me, which is composed by Thomas Barber over there. Okay, here's what I want to practice. Instead of that, I would like you to tell me where we are. So my prompt for you is going to be, today on Keep Classical Weird, we are, and then you will yell as loudly as you feel comfortable, live at YMA. Got it? Got it. Okay, now we rehearse, we are musicians. Here we go. Today on Keep Classical Weird, we are live at YMA. Holy cats. I was going to do that thing where I'm like, oh, you could do better, but that was awesome. That was fantastic. As soon as that happens, our wonderful house band will kick it off. Does everybody know our wonderful house band? You recognize them, faculty and counselors? All right. Everybody ready? Okay. Remember we'll do. Good job, Heidi. Good job, Casey. Silence. Today, I think that's where we were alive. And then bit, right? We got it. Ooh. I always forget which tabs I have running, so 1 moment. Okay. Good show, Heidi.
Good show, Casey.
Today on Keep Classical Weird, we are... You're awesome. Oh yeah, you're good. Thomas, I hope you stay around. Sure. And maybe every once in a while, if people walk up on stage or leave the stage, you can play something or... Was that for me? Oh, okay. Charge? Here we are. It's another podcast taping. I'm so excited. I got some questions from campers. I'm so excited to be here. This is my 3rd year doing Keep Classical Weird at YMA. You all are the most fantastic audience that a podcast could hope for. So I'm going to get it started with inviting up one of your senior counselors, Sora Collins.
great.
That's no, you chose to just grab the whole stand.
I know.
No, you lean in. I love it. I love it. I think originally it was intended to take out just, but you're making it work. You look very comfortable.
I hope I can start a trend tonight.
Okay, all right. I like it, kicking it off strong. How are you doing, Soren?
I'm doing great. I just got dunked. Just a lot of water on me all at once.
So this is like the first thing that people are going to hear on the episode. So do you want to contextualize that in any way?
No.
Okay. It's fine.
No, we were playing a game with sponges, the wet kind of sponges, and you know, it's the spirit of sportsmanship. I decided that everyone should get to dunk the ref, which is me.
Fantastic.
All sports should do this.
You were the ref this year?
Yeah.
Is this in your job description as senior counselor?
You know, it's an optional thing, but like, I kind of have to, because
it's an optional thing in that, like, you can be the ref. We'd really prefer you to be the ref. It's not required.
Yeah, because if I don't, then like one of the campers has to, and that's. You know.
Oh, okay. That can create some biases.
Yeah.
This is your first year as senior counselor, is it not?
It is.
How's someone doing as senior counselor this year? From my perspective, you're doing great. Can we back up a little bit though? Can we rewind in the life of Soren? What first brought you to YMA?
I first came to YMA in 2016, and my parents said, here's what's up. You can either audition and work your butt off and just try to get into Interlochen, or you can go to this camp you've never heard of in Salem. And I went, you know, Interlochen seems like a lot of work. Let's try this thing. So I came in 2016 as a camper, which is, you know, what we call the people who haven't done their first year of high school yet. And then I had so much fun. Played a lot of music. I don't remember what we played that year, but it was some big old, I think it was German symphony.
There's a lot of those symphonies. Yeah. Was that somebody else about Schumann?
There's Schumann Spring Symphony.
Schumann
That's
Spring.
the one.
Thank you. Schumann Spring Symphony.
Encyclopedic knowledge.
I was going to say, do you just catalog all of our stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the future YMA wiki that will be created, you can get a hold of Dr. Sophia Tager. Yeah. Okay. So. Came back, did Schumann, and then you wanted to do more, because you came back again after that, did you not?
But only 2 years later. So in 2017, my parents took me to DC, and we did the whole museum crawl and everything. That was fun.
Nice.
And then I came back in 2018. Riveting.
And you were a CIT?
Yes.
At that point, what we call counselors in training?
Yes.
Because you were old enough to be a counselor in training?
And I was a very well-behaved kid.
You know what I've noticed is that anybody can say that in any sort of intonation, and it sounds sarcastic.
Yep.
There's no way to say that and make it sound sincere.
I promise I actually was. I was in bed by like 10:15 every night. I think my counselor at the time, Zeta, she was just like, come on, do something.
But then you came back, so the thing you did was come back as a counselor?
2 years later.
2 years later, okay. All right, so
there's a trend here.
So how has your experience changed from camper, CIT? Because that's like every counselor role, from student to counselor role, camper, CIT, you've had the whole gamut of experiences, and now you're senior counselor. What are some of the changes that you've noticed in your experience here?
Ooh. I don't know, things are very traditional in a very nice way. Things are comfortable in that I think a lot of people that come back to camp know what to expect every year. You know, there's a lot of very wonderful things that we look forward to every year, this being among them. You know, just like today with Aqua Dodge, or there's things that are very consistent. I think that's a nice, comfortable structure for a lot of people.
I would agree with that. Now, I was talking to you earlier today, just kind of telling you the theme that I'm kind of getting out of this particular episode, because the sentence that I've had running through my mind a lot is, how did we get here? But not in a bad way. Because you can say that sentence and go, how did we get here? But no, that's not what I was saying. I was like, no, how how did we get here? What kind of twists and turns led us to the path that where all of us are now in this room together? And I kind of ran this theme past you, and you were like, yeah, I kind of got here by accident. And I'd love you to elaborate on that sentence.
I have 3 answers to this question. One of them is very long. The first one's a joke. That's that I walked here from the door. Not good enough for that. Okay. The second is that COVID's a part of our lives, huh? Yeah. So last year, we had 3 counselors get sick with COVID right before session 2 started, which is the second part of camp, which is the other one, and it's scary, right? Because what do they do? It's pretty much the same, actually. But the Thursday night, the camp starts 3 days later, right? The second session, and I get pulled into the Galen's office, which is always a scary place to be.
It's Galen, can you confirm? Super scary. Confirmed from Galen.
There are fidget toys and natural light and chairs.
It's like being called into the principal's office if the principal was like a really nice therapist.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think.
And so, they're like, hey, how would you feel about being a counselor for this camp you've technically been, but haven't really? And so on that day, I decided to become a musical theater counselor.
Oh, excellent. You just got promoted at that point
Yeah.
to musical theater counselor.
Yes.
With how much musical theater experience did you have at this point?
None.
None. Okay. Got it. Got up to speed.
I've done everything around musical theater. So I did theater in high school. I did music, obviously. I did pit for musical theater shows. But this was like a new thing.
You never quite overlapped that Venn diagram. Okay.
And so I think it was really helpful for me to just see how these 2 sessions run, and also learning how to pace yourself, because, oh boy, if you think 2 weeks as a camper is very tiring, try 4 weeks, and then try 4 weeks as a counselor.
I was trying to do the math on that. I realized that because I'm only here for 2 weeks, and so that means that every 2 years I've been here for a month, which means that I'm now up to 6.5 months.
Wow.
And now, but then, our fearless sitter Galen has been here. I think I did the math. I think it's 57 years. So, I've been here, so it's a lot. It's a lot. So what did you find was like the biggest, was it a big adjustment, or did you find that you kind of were able to slide into this role pretty easily?
So the first thing is it's like a really weird dream where you're like seeing people you know and love in contexts where they don't belong, right? So it's like, but it's sort of the opposite of that, where you see all these new faces at the same place that you've been going for years, and you're like, what happened to the other people? So it is, there's some very similar things that happen, but it's this like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the other locker room, You always wonder what goes on in there.
Yeah, no, I totally know. I think I understand what you're saying. I have that feel when I walk into Smith stage. I do some organ symphony concerts that come and play here, and they always play on the Smith stage. And I'm always backstage looking for tech elective people to help me out with music stands and directing organ symphony musicians to where they're supposed to be in their seats. And you're not here, so if we could fix that, please. So this is your first, and senior counselor stay also for the full span. Do you feel a little bit more like physically and emotionally prepared for that full span this year?
Yes. I learned so much about pacing myself because I hadn't paced myself because again, I found out what I was doing 3 days before it started. So I was like, I ran a 2-kilometer race and then they said, just kidding, there's 2 more.
So keep running.
So keep on running, exactly.
You must feel, you must feel like a superhero in comparison at this point then.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I have one other question for you, and that's kind of tying in philosophically here with what we're talking about. If you were in a timeline where you weren't pursuing music and you weren't pursuing this kind of path, what do you think you'd be doing?
This is the third answer I have to how did I get here. I am very fortunate to be able to pursue a career in music. I'm doing music education at Portland State, which is so fun. If I hadn't done that, I really love Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect. That was like a huge thing for me in high school. I have a little Lego model of the falling water house he designed.
You have a Lego model of that?
There's like a Lego architecture series that's awesome.
How long did that take you to build?
I don't remember. It's like 10 years ago, but I'm really good at Legos, Casey.
Oh, okay. So I'm only recently into Lego models, and when I actually had COVID and was isolating, it took me the entirety of a Netflix series called Argue the Mole to build a little flower vase kit. So that's how I measure building things in Legos, is by Netflix series.
But yeah, architecture might have been the other thing.
Architecture, fascinating. I can see that.
It's fun.
Nice. We're really glad you're here, Soren.
I'm glad I'm here.
Everybody give it up for Soren Collins. Oh, sure. Yes. You. Many of you, all of you perhaps, know these next two guests as having, I'm going to say, a unique relationship here at camp. Nobody has quite figured it out yet. Let's see if I can do that. Please welcome to the stage Sophia Taggart and Ryan Swallen. Let the record show that before Sophia said hello, she scooched her chair away from Ryan. Is it because of COVID? I don't know.
Neither do we.
No one will ever know. How are you two doing?
Great. This is awesome.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So both of you have been on the podcast before, on more than one episode actually.
I'm on more.
Sophia's been on a few more, this is true. I've never had you on together before, so this is wonderful. This is a dream of mine.
As it should be.
It is fair. I would like to find out where, first of all, I was asking some campers like what they wanted to know about faculty and how they got their start in music, and somebody asked if you could remember your first paying gig, your first professional where you played music and somebody gave you money.
I'm really old at this point. That was a long time ago.
I'm asking you to reach back. Just the one that you can remember, I don't know.
I think mine was in high school,
Okay.
technically, and my dad at the time was managing a nursing home, and so he hired my flute quartet to play music, and it must have been for Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, but I think we got like $20 each, and we had to play for like 5 hours straight. And so we rehearsed, I think for like hours and hours and hours. For 3 months, we had to find all this music because we'd never actually been in quartet before. It was just 3 other friends and me. And I was like, yeah, we can make money. It's gonna be awesome. And then it was $20.
You make $4 an hour, by my calculations.
That was actually very close to minimum wage at the time.
And then, so you must have from that point looked at that and said, yeah, this is the career.
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
you?
No, it was around that time. I was like, this is awesome. I can get paid to play my flute. And I hope future gigs pay better. I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, that was, you know, once you get money for doing something you like that, it's
Just very true.
yeah.
Did you have a moment, Ryan, that you remember of like, oh, I can make money doing this. Let's go for it.
I'm not sure about that, because my original musical plan got hijacked. But I think my first paying gig is I played at my aunt's coffee shop, I think as a freshman in college with another oboe friend, and we got free coffee and then some tips. And I think I made more than $20.
Wow, all right, so not sure that that was the direction of your career. I would like to back up to that sentence, which was a really loaded sentence that you just dropped in the breeze on text, which was, my original musical plan was hijacked. Would you care to explain?
So my bachelor's was in music education with an emphasis in performance. And instead of student teaching, I went on and got a master's in performance in oboe. And then after that, I moved to Los Angeles and started my DMA in oboe performance. And my whole plan was to be Sophia Tigger. I mean, to be a professor of music like Sophia Tigger. However, I met my partner in the first year of my doctorate, and
Your plan was hijacked by the love of your life.
by the love of my
Okay, just clarify.
22 years ago.
22 years ago, wow.
He had the type of job that doesn't require you to move all across the country for one-year positions teaching at universities. And so I had to create the career that I have had, which has been quite varied, and includes YMA, which is fantastic.
That was going to be my next question. How did you two get here? What brought you here?
Let's see, I finished my doctorate and
You brought that up really fast.
I never did
Right.
that. I'm a DMA dropout.
Okay, so I finished my doctorate, and my high school flute teacher was leaving the country, and she needed someone to take over for her at the university she was teaching at in her private studio. And I emailed her, and I was like, "Oh, you want me to take over?" And she said, "Well, actually, the person who was supposed to take over backed out this morning." And I was like, "Oh, so I have a job, right?" And so I moved across the country to Portland, and I was teaching there, and I met Casey.
That's me.
That's her. And we started playing together, and then this position kind of just opened up, and I was like, I like teaching flute to people, and I like hanging out with Casey, so I'm going to do this. So that's what brought me here, essentially.
Can't tell you how many times people get jobs from saying, I like hanging out with kids.
It's true. It's true.
That's excellent. Nice. I forgot that part of your story, that you had fortuitous timing in saying, this is my job now, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really great because I had just gone through all of that schooling, and I graduated, and I still didn't have anything lined up, and I was starting to freak out. But also I wasn't really freaking out because I was like, I'm sure something will pop up. And it did. So
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. What's your story about coming to YMA?
So I had taught at the Idlewild Arts Academy summer program for 3 or 4 years.
Where is that located?
That is in Southern California. I also worked at the boarding high school for the arts that is associated with that. And I was bored and messing around on social media, and Sarah Tiedemann, the former executive director, and before that former flute instructor, posted something about YMA, and I think that they were hiring a couple things, and I I sent her a message and I was just like, well, let me know if you ever need an oboe teacher. And she's like, well, in fact.
I'm sensing a theme. How did you do this?
I don't know.
You just kind of have to ask for stuff.
Yeah.
And
You do. You just have to kind of put
Is
it
that
out
how
there.
that works?
yeah, you don't get anything if you don't go for it.
Okay. Is everybody taking notes? Am I taking notes? So that's how
I
you
would like a new oboe. Let's see if that works.
If you don't ask for $1 million, you don't get $1 million. Noted. I wanted to play a little trivia game with the two of you. Is that okay?
I really like this idea.
Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. I formulated a trivia game because, again, Sophia and Ryan, I know, are great friends and merciless teasers of one another, and they're great collaborators and performers. And I just kind of wanted to get to the depth of like what makes your relationship so great. Just the two of you hanging out as buds. So I just
Oh wait, so we
created-
get to work together on this, right?
No, this is a versus thing. I am pitting you against one another. It's gonna be great. Don't leave yet. So the first category, it's just gonna be trivia questions.
Okay.
It's just the first category is YMA trivia. Okay? Pretty good?
Oh, okay.
All right. There we go. So get yourself into the YMA. So Sophia, I'm gonna ask you first. What does YMA stand for?
Young musician and artist.
That's correct. That's 1 point for you.
Okay, I'm getting a
Good
little-
job, by the way. Okay, Ryan, YMA began in what year? It's on all the t-shirts.
Don't look. No looking, no cheating, no cheating.
It's been around longer than the 5 years I have.
Okay. Can you pin that down even more?
19. And halfway there.
I'll give you a margin of 5 years.
That's not helpful.
Good.
I'm gonna say 1960.
You know, within a margin of 5 years. That's correct. It's like
Seriously?
65. Yeah. It's a point for Ryan.
I'm totally winning.
Sophia, back to you. Who is the faculty member who has taught here the longest?
Scott, right?
Scott Wright is correct. We're waiting for you.
I think he's taught since 1965.
Maybe not quite.
No, he hasn't taught since.
Yeah, that's a faculty member who's taught here the longest. Ryan,
35 years.
35 years. That's true. Ryan, what is the root language of the word faculty?
This is so unfair.
Do you want multiple choice? I'll give you multiple choice.
Latin.
That's correct, Ryan. All right. I am really proud of this next question. Sophia,
No.
what's the first line of the Neil song?
Let us break bread together. We are one.
Very good. 1 point for Sophia. Ryan. With an error margin of 30.
30.
Where can the tune of the Neil song be found in the United Methodist hymnal?
I was raised Catholic.
I'm giving you an error of 30. Either way.
140.
Are you looking to the audience for help right now?
Of course I am. 40.
Oh, they're giving help.
Of course they are.
That's really nice of you.
Okay, I see a lot of threes. So did I say 143?
Not, you're pretty close at 618. Way to lead them down a good path. All right, so at the end of that first round,
I'm still winning.
Sophia with 3, Ryan with 2. Close on Sophia's heels. This
I'm
next
really
one is
impressed with your 2 points. though. I mean, those were hard questions.
Yeah, and yours worked.
But they were too.
I mean, you gotta have knowledge to answer the questions. Classical music trivia is next, all right? Sophia, in what musical period did Bach live?
The Baroque era, he lived from 1685 to 1750.
Oh, wow, I almost want to give you a bonus point for the exact year.
I won't do a mic drop. Heidi is shaking her head.
Yeah. This is a mic drop free zone, yes. Good, all right, Ryan, in what musical period did Leopold Godowsky live? You can also get help from the audience on this one too, if you'd like.
Me is not an answer, guys. Say the name one more time.
Leopold Godowsky.
I'm gonna say the classical period.
It's a little too early.
I don't think.
I think
Do you know this one?
I think so.
Okay. Do you want to try and steal Ryan's point?
Is that a theme? I believe it was the 20th century.
Yeah. 1870 to 1938. So yeah,
That is totally the classical period.
Contemporary Mozart, right there.
Oh, I just had a mean joke. I won't do it.
Okay.
I'll save it for later. All right, Sophia, who composed the opera The Magic Flute?
That would be Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1799.
Wow. Okay.
Class right there.
So Ryan, who composed the opera The Nose? Do you know this one?
Well, I feel like I do, and now I got really excited about it, and now I'm afraid I'm gonna say the wrong answer. I think it's
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Do you know?
It was one of the Russians. Shostakovich.
That's correct. Has anybody does anybody know about the opera The Nose? Yeah, there are literal giant, like sometimes tap dancing noses on stage. It'd be nuts. All right. Okay, last classical music question. Sophia,
Yes.
how many strings are there on a violin? 4 is correct. Yes. Ryan, how many strings are there on 3 harps minus a piano? 3 harps minus a piano. So picture 3 harps and count up all the strings. Are you air plucking all the strings of a harp? Great. All right, you're just shaking your head. Are you passing this, or are you?
233.
53. 53. Harps have 47 strings. 47 plus 47 is
I
47.
was not gonna still.
Okay, there we go.
I was gonna say negative 10. So.
Okay, so that's the end of the second round. Where do we stand? I think with the stolen points, we're at 8 to 2. I'm feeling good about this last one, okay? Feel good about this last one. So hang out with, okay? Hang out with me on this one. Sophia, this is wild card round, okay? Wild card. Sophia, what is your favorite color? I think you can get the next one.
My favorite color is green.
That's correct. Right. What is Sophia's second favorite color?
Purple.
Oh, so close. So I feel like you have to recuse yourself for this one. I can't let you steal it for this one.
All right.
Fair is fair, but it's blue. Blue, the answer is blue. Sophia, what's the time signature for a waltz?
Oh, 3/4.
3/4. Ryan, what is the time signature for the theme song for the children's show Blue? It's a mixed meter, I'm sorry. Has anybody figured out the Bluey theme song? Yes. Yeah. There's a whole thing, and then it cuts out, and it's 1, 2, 3, Mom. Anyway, I could do a whole podcast episode on that theme. All right, last question. Last question, Sophia.
Okay.
Have you enjoyed yourself this evening?
I absolutely have. This has been amazing. I love winning.
That's correct. Ryan, will you ever be on my podcast ever again? Yeah, that's correct. That's solid. Sophia. I want to welcome up to the stage bassoonist and instructor extraordinaire, Adam Farmer. Have a seat, I'm going to grab another mic here. I should have just done a soaring to just brought up the whole thing. Adam, would you mind telling us just a little bit about what you're going to serenade us with this evening?
Sure. So, this is a repeat for some of you, I apologize, but I'm going to be playing a waltz by Brazilian composer Francisco YMA. The title, I don't have the Portuguese memorized, but in English it means that Modena that Vila didn't write. So it's kind of a Brazilian music joke for you there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Adam Farmer, everybody. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. Oh, you're all gonna love this now. Because Adam is amazing no matter what, but when you can hear him, oh my gosh. Thanks, Adam. That was great. What are you seeing how tall bassoons are and how much air is required to get through them? I'm genetically inclined to be a string player. Everybody can breathe for their instrument, just confounds me. Congratulations to all of you with those lungs. I taught myself briefly once how to do the basics of the flute. And I did a long tone once that lasted a whole 3 seconds. Yeah, I taught myself. I know. It was great. You got, how long do your long tones last, Tom Barber?
Let's find out.
Okay. That's fair.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. That would be a riveting podcast recording. We just tried that out. Oh my goodness. Hey, do y'all know Raul? Yeah! Let's talk to Raul, shall we? I'm glad you're making yourself comfortable. We've upgraded the chairs.
I love the chairs. I love the color of the chairs.
Yeah.
I love this audience.
The audience is the best audience ever. Woo! It's been a while since you've been on the podcast. I think it's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years.
You're dressed differently than you were back then.
I've been more conservative.
A bit more. I don't know if those of you who were here for the podcast taping 2 years ago, Raul was, named kind of the most fashion-forward member of the faculty, and all of a sudden the pressure got to him, and he cracked, and he came out with, there was a tie around your head, there was a backwards.
Are you saying it was bad?
I never said that. I'm just trying to give a description of where we were at in that time.
There are pictures. We'll make sure you can see the picture.
Yes.
It's a very fashion-forward attire.
Yes, correct. Although I did notice the Keep Classical Weird pin, which is also
I'm wearing
very
my
fashion-forward.
classical weird pin.
Well done. With the YMA shirt, you're fully decked out.
Every
That's hard.
day.
I love it. How is this year going for you, Raul?
It's great.
This is your 3rd year
This
here.
is my 3rd year, and what a wonderful place full of wonderful, wonderful people this is. Everybody here.
I can't agree
It's the
more.
type of place, that campers, counselors, I think to an extent the impact that YMA has on you, but you will not truly know the true impact until many years from now when you look back and you sort of stop and reflect on how lucky we all were and are to be here together.
It's true. It's very true. And someday you may end up on a podcast and you'll be like, how did I end up here? Oh, well, YMA. And Casey Bozel's podcast taping. You don't have to say that, don't worry.
Season 35.
Season 3.
Classical Weird.
I have to adopt an old one. Welcome to Keep Classical Weird. That's the best old person voice I got. I'll work on it. So, Raul, I want to go back in time for a second. What originally brought you to music? How'd you get there?
Well, my parents, like many of us, when I was little, there are photos of me. I think I was maybe 5 or so. I grew up in Costa Rica. It's a pretty Catholic country. So my mom got me a tambourine tambourine and some kind of attire. Maybe that's where my sense of fashion comes from. It's really decked out. It's like, you know, like high mass stuff.
Okay, so, and that's like really like good looking really sharp.
It's sharp. It's
Okay,
sharp.
cool.
So I don't know why this happened, but you know, I started playing tambourine with a little. This is not your traditional sort of like what do you call it, like Episcopalian, like very proper music. This is a Latin American Catholic church. Okay, so there are guitars and tambourines and singing, and it's very cheerful and joyful. And I was somehow playing tambourine for that. There are pictures, and I suppose I could keep a beat.
How old were you?
I think I was 5 or so.
5-year-old Raul with a tambourine. Let's just picture that for a second, shall we? It's amazing.
And then from that, I became interested in percussion. So elementary school, I was a snare drum player for my elementary school's marching band. 3rd grade, I started to play the violin. I just started to gravitate towards music. My parents are not musicians. There's nobody in my family who's a musician. I just liked it. My parents saw it, and they found opportunities for me to explore that. I also taught myself to play the recorder.
How do your parents feel about that?
You know, I think I was pretty good, actually.
Okay, all right, excellent.
I somehow got a hold, and this is of course pre-internet, of a recorder method book. I think maybe my school teacher gave it to me, and I just sort of like got through it and learned to play, got pretty decent at it, and eventually I, you know, went to concerts by the Costa Rican National Symphony, and I thought the violin looked interesting, and I said I want to play that, and I started when I was 9, which is a little later than, you know, many of my colleagues.
I started when I was 9.
Oh, nice.
I did,
Okay.
yeah, that's cool.
Right. Yeah. I'm so grateful of every twist and turn that, you know, that I've experienced in my journey that brought me here. So that's how I started.
Amazing. Do you remember, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked Sophia and Ryan, do you remember your first paid gig?
You know, I was thinking about that, and I think I am sort of joining together 2 stories. There's, you know, but maybe they're the same. It's hard to remember. But I was also in high school, and one of the stories is that, I'm trying to make this a short story, but in Spanish, in Costa Rica specifically, there's a slang for when you play a gig, you compensated for it. We're trying to get rid of it, we don't like it anymore, but the translation of that slang is to kill a goat.
That's the slang? Is that
Yeah.
you kill a goat?
Matar un chivo is in Spanish. In different Latin American countries, there are different ways to, you know, different slangs. I think it was because like back in the day or something, like it'd be like a big celebration in the village and they would like kill an animal for, you know, roasted.
Okay.
I think that's where it comes from. But I had no idea, you know, about this slang. So I think I was 14 and I was going around my conservatory, you know, from the cafeteria to a rehearsal room, and an older student that I looked up to, a violinist, she stopped me. And she asked me, and I'll say it in English, do you think your parents will give you permission to kill a goat? I had no idea what she was talking about. And I said, I guess I can ask. You know? And then eventually, you know, somebody told me, I suppose. So that might be the same or a different story, but what I remember is it was a violin quartet, similar to Sophia's flute quartet, that we were hired to play for a wedding. And we had never done it before. We were all in high school. And we were, you know, a very close group of 4 friends. We were all violinists. But we couldn't really find a lot of music for violin quartet. So I decided that I would take the G string of my violin and tune it down to a low D.
Oh, that's quite a correction.
To play the bass line of Pachelbel's canon.
Did that even sound on the violin? Yeah. That's a
So,
floppy string.
I think that was my first paid gig. I must have been 14 or 15.
Your first murdered?
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a nicer way of saying that in Spanish.
I like it.
Keep you updated.
I bet you can top that. Fascinating. Now, what brought you here to YMA from that first gig to here?
Well, sure. First of all, I have to say that I never, throughout my high school years, playing violin and eventually viola, going to college for violin performance, and originally starting as a microbiology major, by the way. I was not planning to be a professional musician.
Yes.
And then, it wasn't until after my master's in violin performance that conducting even crossed my mind as something that I would explore. The reason why it happened was that my violin teacher at the time, just when I was about to finish my master's in violin performance, he was hired by a different conservatory. He got all of his studio together. He said, I'm leaving. I just accepted the job at Indiana University. So you can all come with me, or you can stay here and finish your degree or do whatever, right? At the same time, there was a new conducting professor coming to the university, whom I knew from my years back in Costa Rica playing violin with the National Symphony. He would come as a guest conductor, Venezuelan conductor, Carlos Riazuelo. And he had just been hired, and he had to build a conducting studio. And I was sort of in this limbo, and I talked to him, he said to me, if you want to study conducting, you can start at YMA conducting, with no experience, and full scholarship. I said, sure, I'll do it.
That's a good deal.
I figured, while I'm doing that and trying it out for free, I will still I'll do a violin minor and get violin lessons and play music, and then I liked it, and a few doors opened along the way, and there came a point where I thought maybe I can do this for money. And then I discovered that I love working with youth orchestras and with young people making music together. That took me to Portland for my job with the Metropolitan Youth Symphony back in 2016. At that time also, where I was trying to move away from freelancing. Because you can make a living as a freelancing musician, but it's a lot of work. And, there comes a point where I'll speak for myself. There came a point where I felt ready for something more stability. I knew that I wanted to work as a conductor in an educational setting, and I found MYS, Metropolitan Youth Symphony, which is an organization that I've been in 2016, and now perfectly aligns with my values and what I believe in, and what I believe music and music education should be. And I think it was after COVID, I think maybe Galen Cohen or maybe Nita Van Pelt, a board member of YMA, they reached out, and I forget the timeline. It's all COVID stuff, and everything blends together.
Yeah, the year of COVID was approximately 6 years.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found myself here the summer that we all came back after COVID, and just like with Metropolitan Youth Symphony, I felt like my approach and the joy that I personally get from music is also at the core of what YMA is. So it felt like a really good fit for me. And like I said, when I sat here, it's just a wonderful place full of wonderful people. I love people.
Us and that water bottle are all really glad you're here. So we're thrilled that you're here, Raul. But listen, there comes a time where I have to test everybody's skills.
I'm ready.
Okay. The leader of this podcast, which I didn't know I was giving out points, is currently Sophia with 11 points.
Wait, am I competing with them?
Yeah, I didn't know that until just now. I happen to know Sophia very well, and I know that, and there's a chance you can beat her with this, and she's never going to be happy about that forever if you beat her. I can tell you that much. But
I doubt that I will, but I will try.
all right, you have the capacity to beat 11 points. So I have to put you at a slight disadvantage, and that is that I'm going to make a few adjustments over here.
While you do that, I have to say that I love your podcast.
Oh,
and I
thanks.
think what you do is so great. It's such a great example of what many of us do, which is we have a career in music, but over time we have also developed other skills, that we put to use in different ways. I think also COVID and quarantine in a way pushed many of us to expand our horizons. So I love what you're doing. Can we give it up for Casey? And I will take my free merch later. Thank you.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It'll come your way. And I'm so glad you said that, because at first I thought you were going to say your perfect example about how we start on a musician track and then just do a podcast. I really enjoy doing my podcast, though. It's part of what makes us human is podcasting. All right. I'm going to give you this piece of paper.
Okay.
I'm going to ask. It says, I'll just read the first part because it says, please read out loud. All right. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read it out loud and do the thing.
Okay.
You have the capacity to get some points.
Let's go for it.
Are you ready?
I'm terrified.
It's going to be great.
Please read out loud. Within 60 seconds, name as many composers as you can. You will receive 1 point per composer and 2 points if they are non-white or female or non-binary identified. If you duplicate an answer, you will have a point taken away. Your time begins after you finish reading this part.
Now.
Okay, Caroline Shaw, Gabriela Lina Frank, Emily Meyer, which by the way Sophia introduced me to. I wasted time.
I should get a point for that.
You're at 15 seconds.
Bach, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, all of those guys. Angelica Negron, who's coming to Fresh Air Fest with Third Angle. Check it out when if you live in the town.
30 seconds.
Wow, that's a lot of time. It's very generous.
I know, I should have rethought this.
Let's see. See, the thing is,
45 seconds.
it's so easy to think about all the composers that we're all from the canon, and we're all working hard to diversify playlists, but when you're put on the spot like this, it's hard to think of names.
It's part of the challenge.
Yes. Löwenskol is the composer of La Sylphide.
And I believe by my counts, because you did great with the female slash non-binary component.
So composers that have recently conducted their music, so it's still kind of fresh in my head.
All right. Now listen, here's where the contestants stand at the end of the podcast. Ryan has 2 points. Sophia, as stated before, 11 points.
Jennifer Hinton.
We're past 60 seconds, unfortunately. However, Raul, you got 13 points. Weird House Band back up here. That's Tom and Mike and Henry and Sophia. Please come back up here. We're going to close out the show with another little theme song playthrough. But first of all, I want to say thank you so much to all of you. This is way cooler to do in front of a live audience. So thank you for coming. Thank you to Heidi and to Darian, and to David Kinder, and Galen, and Kevin. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. How's everybody doing? Did you have a good time? Oh, there you are. I was like, and hey, thanks, Tom Barber.